What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, giving you your Oscars predictions today, as well as a lot of other content. Finally, Dave. I mean, it's been, 14 months since the last Oscars at this point?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty crazy. I'm here with my co-host, Dave Martinson, who you just heard. Dave, how you doing this week?
Doing well, man. Doing well. The movie year is finally over. Uh, for the people like us that pay attention, I have a feeling not many people are invested in this particular award season. That's abundantly clear.
Yeah, people aren't really invested in much right now. COVID year, I mean,
Yeah,
hard to get excited about a lot of things at the moment, I feel like. Get vaccinated, though, if you can. Hopefully, next year's a more exciting movie year. Dave, just wanted to check in with you quick. Saw a lot of buzz this weekend around Formula One racing. People giving a lot of love to the Formula One driving show on Netflix, which I know you're a big fan of. You
yeah,
enjoying it?
that's right. Yes, the second race of the season in Imola, Italy, was this past weekend. Yeah, I think F1 Drive to Survive on Netflix is exceptional and probably the best docu-series around a sports league out there. Each season of the show is about the past season of F1 in real life. And the way they spin the narratives and choose the way they focus as they go out, you get a good feel of the season of the sport, as well as everything else going on behind the scenes. It's really well done and just really captivating. And also finding out F1, very easy sport to follow. They only race like, 2, 3 times a month. And, that's one singular race. It's not like baseball where they play 5 times a week. It's very easy sport to get into and keep up with, I must say.
Well, for us East Coasters, what time are you waking up to watch this?
Yeah, so it depends where they have it, obviously, because they race all over the world. In this case, Italy was 6 hours ahead, so the race was 9 a.m. Sunday
Okay,
morning.
not bad.
So
Wake
not
up,
terrible. But
have your coffee. I don't think you drink coffee, but have your breakfast and watch some Formula One. Not too shabby. Um, Dave, we're going to be talking quite a few things today. Obviously, I mentioned Oscar predictions, got a couple of albums, some TV shows, and a movie. Let's start with ILoveMakonnen, who was not expecting to be talking about today, gave his newest album, My Parade, a listen. And, you know, I don't really know much about this person. You know, you were explaining to me before we started some of the places I may know him from. But in listening to him, all I kind of got was this like Post Malone esque type performer who's just kind of going for like the melodic like
mhm.
sound, maybe get some like raps in there, but nothing that really like struck me as super intriguing. Uh, Tell me why you want to talk about this album and what you thought about My Parade.
Yeah, so we really haven't talked about McConan since starting the podcast. That's years into the game. That's because he really hasn't done a whole lot recently. He's more or less been MIA, been independent, under the radar, dropping EPs here and there. And the only time he really popped up was on that posthumous Little Peep song, uh, Falling Down, which he was on the original version. They put it out again with XXXTentacion,
Mhm.
but McConan was a friend of Little Peeps and had worked with him, and apparently they had about an album's worth of material recorded. We've only heard that one song to this point, but that's the last time I feel like he really popped up. But I mean, if people remember, McConan had a big hit several years ago now with Tuesday Club Going Up on Tuesday, which infamously remixed by Drake, leading to McConan signing to OVO and McConan being one of those probably the most high profile example of someone that Drake hopped on their song and kind of chewed up and spit out an artist once Drake was kind of done with them,
Yeah.
and McConan fell out with OVO and has largely been underground since then. But he is pretty well regarded across hip hop for like people that like know his music. And I think that's just because it's not that like he has like a dynamite album. And I would say even with My Parade, it's not like I love the record, but he's just someone who has these moments because he does all kinds of weird shit. And the thing is, he's been doing the weird shit before Playboy Cardi started doing it. And I feel like he's kind of like a Key is another guy like this who dabbles in this melodic stuff over trap beats and has been all over the place the past few years and is a big influence on people you see doing this in a more mainstream way on major labels. So I just really wanted to mention McKonnen for that, because I feel like he doesn't get his just desserts as much as he should. There's a great Fader profile from a few years ago by Paul Thompson about him, where like he's talking to people uh, that know McKonnen from back in the day and stuff. And so yeah, he's an interesting figure, and I would love him to be more active, really.
Yeah, and I might have given it might have been too harsh my first uh like kind of breakdown or my first opinion of him, because I do think there's some moments on this that are pretty interesting. Um, you know, in listening to it, I think there's a moment in the beginning that I thought felt like it had a lot of potential. If it's cool, I felt like was a like toned down, almost like blood orange esque type like slow jam sound, which I was
Yeah,
like, oh,
sure.
this is pretty interesting that he's like trying something like this. I thought like Whoopsie and So Saucy were just like
Yeah.
they're very just like going for pop radio, like
Mhm.
I don't know, attention type hits. I don't
So saucy, I'm spilling ragu. How can you not love that?
but yeah, those felt just like what's the formula? Let's put something catchy out there, see if it sticks. But and then the title track I thought was okay, but
Mhm.
not a lot else really stood out to me on this. Did you like More Bitches Than the Mayor, Dave?
I did. I did.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing too. Is like he's always had funny quotables. What's it? Whip It Harder is a reference to one of his, again, like random drops on like a mixtape from like 5 years ago. Whip It, the Whip It remix with McKonnen and Migos as well as Rich the Kid. Like that song rules, and that's like probably the last vestige of like a classic Migos uh, performance from Quavo before they Migos really blew up. And like he's always had like these like songs that just kind of pop up out of nowhere and stuff. And I'm like, and that's the thing. Like on my parade, do I like really anything on this as much as I like the canon of McKonnen, which you have to really be on McKonnen to know about? Probably not. But I'm just happy to see him putting something out. And yeah, into totally independent and dropping this on a Tuesday. You probably didn't see this on your release radar playlist. He's not getting programmed or anything, but uh, I think that people should just use this as a chance to like go back in and listen to those hits. Like I don't sell Molly no more, still fucking goes. Too much is great. Like McKonnen's got some bangers, and I want to hear more. So keep it going, man.
We'll probably throw a track on to our Nostalgia Best of 2021.
Whoopsie.
We'll also probably put something from Kenny Mason on there, dropping Angelic Hoodrat Supercut.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's hard to really talk about anything with this album without just kind of acknowledging the duality of the album. That this is an album where Kenny is doing a lot of rap and also mixing in a lot of rock, and I think trying to, uh, you know, mesh those things together. Um, to in the rap world has been done to varying levels of success.
Mhm.
How do you feel like he pulled it off with this album, Dave?
Uh, that's the thing. Going in, Angelic Hoodrat Supercut. I was like, oh, is that like a deluxe to Angelic Hoodrat, his debut album from 2020? Oh no, it's completely new.
Yeah.
And that kind of like threw me off for a second. And yeah, Kenny's going even further into that genre blending lane than he had already started doing last year. I briefly mentioned him for our XXL 2021 video in the sense that I think he's an excellent choice for XXL, but I just don't think he's mainstream enough to ultimately wind up getting picked. But 2 albums in, and he's got other music as well, but these two main albums over the past 2 years definitely shows I think this guy's like really talented. And like you said, this genre blending, it's not it's not hyperbolic. Like you're hearing like real guitars from an Atlanta rapper. Like it's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I did not really like I listened to the other one with the same name, Angelic
Angelic Hoodrat.
Hoodrat,
Mhm.
as like a precursor, kind of skipped around a couple of tracks, and knew we'd probably be hearing some of it, but to hear it just like kind of come out so genuinely and feel not forced and to sound really interesting and cool. You know, we're going to be talking about a rock album that I don't think is nearly as interesting in a second. I was like enjoying the genre blending, and I think you got a lot to like all over this, and some really awesome features on this as well that I think really elevate it. And great to get a cosign for someone like that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, what track stood out to you, or what about the album? What moments were your favorites?
I mean, right off the bat, I thought first track
Yeah.
43, big
Yep.
highlight. And throughout Angelic Hoodrat Supercut, you'll notice that Kenny's not afraid to do major vocal changes in the middle of his song. Like, he will switch up his delivery. It's quite exciting. He always seems to keep it fresh, and I thought that really shines early on that song 43. A plus with Denzel Curry. I mean, my God, Denzel just fits perfectly on that track. He
Hmm.
does not phone in his features, but this sounds incredibly tailored to the track. And upon doing some research, it seems like Denzel himself was very early to the Kenny Mason come up, and that's awesome. Um, I mean, to get a Freddie Gibbs feature
Yeah.
now on the run Freddie is on, again, Kenny Mason, independent artist. He's doing what 662,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. To get a Freddie Gibbs feature, I think
Huge.
that says a lot. Apparently, they sent the song to his team. Kenny didn't even know if Freddie knew who he was. The next thing you know, Freddie rapped on it for him. So that's also a great cosign. Um, but yeah, because he genre blends so much and changes lots, not just the production, but changes his own performance throughout the course of the album, I think it definitely warrants multiple listens because there's a lot to listen for. I think rapping wise, when he's doing more traditional rapping, he reminds me a lot of like Jid and Kendrick in terms of the way he sounds.
Mhm.
But again, he's trying to do much different things, and I think they are.
Yeah, no, I the ones you shouted out were definitely my top tracks, and that Freddie song, "Much Money," is interesting because I think that's doesn't sound like a lot of other tracks on the album. It actually sounds more like a Freddie song, like a leftover from Alfredo, if anything else. It's
Mhm.
so jazzy, but like they both are just so smooth on that track. It really is a standout to me. Um, and you mentioned A plus. Obviously, Denzel Curry goes off on that. Um, it looking a little bit further down though, the song "Pup," which I know has been a single off this, gotten him a lot of acclaim. Really sounds like 21 Savage at certain points in that track,
Sure.
and you mentioned that ability to like switch up his flow, switch up his cadence, really, you know, basically use his vocals as an instrument, and that really stands out on a track like that to me. So I feel like there's a lot of potential here, and
Yeah.
hopefully we're just going to see Kenny continue to grow and grow as an artist. Um, what else from this album stood out to you?
Yeah, I'd say Play Ball, Apartments, and 40. I mentioned 43. Play Ball, Apartments, as well as 43. Also, good examples of hearing those guitars and hearing him rap, and also sing and stuff. And again, the genre blend; those are good examples of that. Uh, and yeah, Kenny Mason, he's 26. It's not like he's like super young or anything, but it seems like he really came into his own at the end of 2019 when his biggest song to date hit came out. But I mean, these first two albums, really impressive for someone still young in their career, and
I,
that genre blend obviously it fits right in with like what people are doing these days. But he does not feel in the slightest like he's chasing any trends or anything. It's still completely nonconformist.
mhm, absolutely. Buy stock now, so that you can have those diamond hands, baby. Um, Putting probably a track or two onto the playlist to follow that in the show notes. Greta Van Fleet, Dave's favorite rock band, the saviors of rock and roll, are back with their second album. Um, yeah, I mean, so going into this, we all kind of know what to expect from Greta Van Fleet at this point, right?
Hmm.
Um, they're Led Zeppelin light. Um, they're a Led Zeppelin cover band, if we want to be real harsh. Um, they
And
dropped
they're
their
happy to be that. They don't care.
true.
They
That's
double
true.
down for album 2.
Yeah. So Anthem of the Peaceful Army came out in 2018 to varying levels of praise or disregard, and it you know
1.6 for a Pitchfork. Incredibly harsh.
it's hard though, and I found myself really empathizing with them in a sense because I don't know how they can win, right? Like the guy just sounds like the lead singer of Led Zeppelin. He sounds like Robert Plant. Like,
It's just a fact.
what are you gonna do? Like, so at that point, it's either like, okay, we have to make our entire sound completely different, which I guess you could do. People are gonna be like, oh, it sounds like this guy is trying to sound like Robert Plant doing a different sound, or you just lean into it, which is what they chose to do. And I think some of the songs actually sound really awesome. Like these guys can really rock. It's just hard to
Mhm.
like look at their music and then be like, oh, this is really interesting because it does just sound like Led Zeppelin B sides.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I feel like my take is largely the same since Anthem of the Peaceful Army. And again, even before that, those two EPs, they got 4 Grammy noms off that second EP, including Best New Artist. They won Best Rock Album for that second EP. They got an initial acclaim there, but
Yeah.
my opinion really hasn't changed because they, for the most part, also have decided not to change. And it's a sense that I think the music is good. It's well made classic rock.
Mhm.
They go hard. They do a lot of like the Zeppelin trademarks, though. In addition to the obviously easy to compare vocals, the long solos and periods of just instrumentation, these big hard rock anthemic songs are just very reminiscent of 70s classic rock. It is what it is.
Mhm.
And they haven't really deviated from that at all. There aren't like ballads on this. There aren't really like slow jams on this at all. It's more or less balls to the wall hard rock, classic rock. And that's fine. But as you said, it's not that interesting. From what I understand, the Greta Van Fleet Reddit is super into their songwriting, and that's like a big thing. But to me, I don't really listen to the lyrics all too much because, like you said, it's just not interesting to me. When would you ever put on their music when you could just put on Led Zeppelin instead? That's still
Yeah.
very much the case 2.5 years later for me. It's like,
Yeah.
if this is what I want to hear, and I want to hear this all the time because this is great, I'd rather listen to the real stuff, you
Mhm.
know? So, and I don't know if that's Greta Van Fleet's fault. They're
Mhm.
finding success. They can keep doing this. And again, they're really the only ones doing it. So
Yeah.
that's fine. But to me, it's like, it's just weird. It's a weird feeling.
Yeah. It is strange, especially because even when they start to like try things, I forgot which track it is because I really wasn't that into the album to begin with. But one of the tracks they kind of start off with like this piano, it might even be the last one, Weight of Dreams.
Yeah. I
And
actually like that one.
yeah, it's a very epic song, but that one starts off with this acoustic guitar. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. And it starts off with this acoustic guitar and has this huge build up, and it's this awesome song. But it's an 8 minute song. It starts off with an acoustic guitar and ends with like a huge rock like swell and crescendo.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this sounds a lot like another very
Yeah.
famous Led Zeppelin song.
Might have heard this before.
Yeah, and like it's. I was thinking like, what if the lead singer sounded like the guy from 21 Pilots? Like, would we just be like, wow, these guys are fucking amazing? Like, they're really reviving. Like, if he didn't sound like Led Zeppelin, like they just the vocals didn't sound like it. Would we think it's awesome? Is it
Right.
that the instrumentation is just so similar? It's just I don't know.
Yeah, and what's hilarious is if you read a lot, they've done plenty of press leading up to this
Mhm.
second album, The Battle at Garden's Gate, and they seem to like kind of laugh off a lot of the criticism and just feel like it's not accurate. And I just find that really funny because they're like, oh, we're not trying to be like Led Zeppelin. It's like, well, bro, I wish you were way more self aware than you apparently are because
Right.
it would be a little more endearing. Like they're actually super serious about it, you
Ugh,
know? And again,
yeah.
it's totally fine. I don't care. Do what you want to do, of course. But I think in just terms of like it being interesting music, when we talked about the first album, I think the talent of them as instruments and the Kish clan here, like they are talented rockers. If they do evolve, maybe they could become really interesting. 2 albums in, they've made no attempt to evolve. And again, we've mentioned this a few times this year already. Greg Kurstin cast another bag with this one. He apparently was the lead producer on this album. What the fuck did he possibly influence them on? This sounds
Yeah,
just like the first album.
nothing.
Like, what the
That's
fuck, dude? This guy is getting bag after bag to do nothing.
con man, Greg Kurstin. We're calling him out. Yeah, if you like Led Zeppelin, I think it's worth listening to these guys and just taking them for what they are,
Yeah,
which is,
absolutely.
they're Led Zeppelin light. They're still really great rockers, but again, if you want the real stuff, yeah, just go on Spotify and type in Led Zeppelin. It's all there. It's
You know,
great.
one thing I noticed just looking and doing some research. So we remember that first album was successful, debuted at number 3, 87,000 first week, 80,000 of which were traditional album sales, what you expect from rock music. Funny enough, this album, Anthem Peace and Army, did not go gold in the US, let alone platinum. I found that very strange considering I was like, you got 80,000 traditional album sales first week. Surely this is going to be a big success as far as rock music. I don't know. Apparently not. I found that a little strange, especially because you look on their Spotify and one of their songs off the EPs was it a Highway Tune that's over 100 million streams. So it's like they also have a digital presence.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see they actually have sold less than I expected.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the sort of thing where you listen to the album, and certainly these like Reddit fans, I'm sure, listen to it over and over. But you can't help but finish and want to just go back to like some of the Led Zeppelin greatest
Mhm.
hits.
Oh,
Just
I watched some Led Zeppelin live videos on YouTube this week.
uh,
Not gonna lie,
crowd.
it got me in the mood.
Yeah. Yeah. So check it out. Probably not gonna put a song honestly because I don't think it. Maybe we'll put that last one just to pad some of those stats. 9 minutes added to the playlist.
Yeah, I'd also say like apart from that last track, "The Weight of Dreams," I also like Broken Bells, long
Yeah,
solos, periods of interpretation. You've heard
Broken
it before,
Bells.
but when it sounds
Yeah,
when they make it like this, it's still good. Again, it just
T-
depends what mood you're in.
yeah. The first track, Heat Above, Tears of Rain, like they're solid rock tracks. They're just not super original. It feels like so. Why don't we move on to some TV though, Dave? And let's start with a show that wrapped up this past weekend, Made for Love. We didn't talk about the premiere, but we're talking about the ending, and that's all that matters, right? Got here by the end. Starring Cristin Milioti, Billy Magnuson,
Hmm.
Ray Romano, who's just been doing a lot of like
Yes,
acting now, like
he's been
real
doing a lot of
acting.
dramatic work. Really,
Yeah,
like remember The Irishman, for
yep.
example.
Irishman, and then he was also in the Kumail movie.
That's right.
I
Big
can't
Sick.
remember. Yes, Big Sick. So, um, this was a nice little watch, I'd say. Um, not not a perfect show. I think we'll get into it. Dark comedy, so the tone of that can be hit or miss. And this was really like Black Mirror meets Silicon Valley to me in a lot of ways,
Huh.
or like at
Yeah.
least attempting to kind of mesh those two together. Um, but really, I think the thing to talk about is Cristin Milioti, who just seems to be a star on the rise at this point after Palm Springs this past year. But what did you think of Made for Love?
Yeah, so this is actually the first Max Originals show we've discussed. There haven't been too many, but they've actually gotten a pretty solid reception. Remember, these are shows on HBO Max, but not actually made by HBO. It's a different silo at Warner Media, but still, obviously, you're not watching them at the same place. To the average person, they probably don't know the difference. But The Love Life with Anna Kendrick was one of these. The Flight Attendant with Kaylee Cuoco was one of these as well. That sci-fi show Raised by Wolves. Now we have Made for Love. So the Max Originals coming in at this point, first one for us. And yeah, Kristen Milioti, like this is a vehicle for her, and it's not her doing anything she hasn't been doing of late. You mentioned Palm Springs. There's a lot of similar themes to that here for her character. And you also mentioned Black Mirror. She starred in one of the most acclaimed Black Mirror episodes of late, USS Callister. Again, with some similar
Mhm.
themes in terms of being at the the whims and wills of a wealthy, influential tech bro with really powerful technology.
Good point.
Like there's a lot of, I think, common through lines she's doing here, but I don't mind it because she's just a really winning presence, and to give her a vehicle like this is great because she's awesome.
hmm Yeah, I just found her incredibly charming and someone I want to spend time with. And Hazel is I wouldn't say like a really complex character, but I also wouldn't say that she's like one note either. I think there's a couple of sides that she had to play, and kind of seeing her go from this like trapped person to this very liberated, independent, strong person by the end of the show, I thought was a nice arc. um I think where maybe I felt a little bit tripped up at times, or I think the part that was really a difficult part of this all for me was Ray Romano's character, so her dad Herbert,
Mhm.
carrying around the doll the whole time. Um,
Synthetic partner, might
yes,
I add?
the synthetic partner didn't totally hit for me. I felt like I got where I get where it got to at the end, and kind of like what they were trying to say about like Ray Romano kind of just settling for what his life was at that point, not wanting to like go out, make himself vulnerable, um, go through more heartbreak as he's reaching the end of his life, just be comfortable really. Um, and also accepting people for where they're at, right? So like that's also I think one of the points of the show is like accepting people for where they're at. But um yeah, the doll Diane, I think her name was.
Yeah,
I just became a little bit like I get it. Like I don't need this
right.
much of her.
I kind of wish there was some like it was the source of better jokes. It didn't really
Yeah,
end up leading to
a whole lot,
anything that great. Yeah,
right?
I agree.
What did you think of Billy Magnuson as Byron Goggle?
Yeah, obviously a very on the nose name there.
Hmm.
Uh, like not a character we haven't seen before again in this kind of stuff. He's very what Zuckerberg esque, essentially what the wealthy
Yeah.
uh, tech entrepreneur who's like Elon Musk, like Mark Zuckerberg, not a real person at all, and at least in our stereotypical view of them, incapable of being a real person and doing maybe even average things like a normal person, and that includes human interaction.
Hmm.
I like Billy Magnuson. He's been in a lot of stuff lately. He's definitely working, but I've always thought he was pretty talented. Whether it's like supporting roles like in Game Night or Maniac on Netflix, of course, where he's reunited with Patrick Somerville, who's one of the producers on Made for Love. But yeah, I thought he was also a good choice, and him and Milioti had good chemistry. Like I believe both of their roles and like the relationship and the very up and down nature of it, like it all made
Hmm.
sense to me.
Yeah, I really liked his rapport with Bennett, played by Caleb Foote. I felt like they had a pretty funny back and
Definitely.
forth. Um, I kind of liked how they had this like what was it called? It wasn't the sphere, the Oculus, right? Where like they could just like make anywhere that you want to be all the time.
Yeah, I forgot the name. The Cube, some I
Yeah,
don't know,
something
had
like
some
that.
name, right?
And I kind of liked how like they just constantly were like tricking people into like where they were, like, and then putting him through all like the simulations. I thought a lot of that stuff was pretty good.
Sending them off to pasture and
Pasture,
basically
yeah,
banishing them. That was well done. I like that.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, overall, I think this is a nice watch. I think you'll enjoy it, and it's pretty quick too. Like I found
Yeah.
these episodes digestible, so um, definitely worth checking out. Any other thoughts for you?
Yeah, I would say thankfully, like you said, it doesn't get too long in the tooth. It's less
No.
than 4 hours in total. HBO Max has been doing for these Max originals where they drop, I think, was it three at the start and then a little week to week and then drop like the last one or two at the end. So a little
Mhm.
hybrid release there. But I wouldn't say that Made for Love like reinvents the wheel too much. Like there's nothing super uh I don't know, like thought provoking for this kind of like tech satire stuff. I feel like I feel like the average audience member at this point kind of has a more elevated view of this kind of stuff. Like we've seen a lot of Black Mirror at this point. Like
Mhm.
uh, it's iterative in a certain sense, but because the acting is well done, it's not too long. I think it's well worth the time. Uh, how did you feel about the end? That's the first time you get some like truly like philosophical stuff there, and Hazel almost becomes Billy Madison at the end there, right?
Yeah,
Making her a choice for her dad without him even knowing it. It's basically like the chip that had been in her head all season, right? I
yeah.
wasn't expecting something like that because the conflicts felt very accessible and easy to understand and follow to that point in the season, and then we
Mm.
get this kind of like, I wouldn't call it a twist, but like it was a little bit of a sharp turn. I felt like for Hazel, given what we had seen to that point.
Yeah, I think I thought the twist was good. It definitely made me think about like the ethics of it, as well as just why she would make that choice at this point in her life. And I really think the last episode being very leftovers esque in terms of just putting the two main characters face to face and making them have a conversation, and really getting somewhere. I think where I got to was Hazel must have felt like Byron, which I think his name is actually like Greg or something like that,
Yeah, right.
um, could be a better partner to her in some ways, and that she also is like willing to like make the sacrifice for someone she loves.
Mhm.
And I also get the sense that she felt like her dad maybe was more willing to try things than or to try again that now that she was in his life. But yeah, I think it's a very like gray area in terms of the decision, and um, definitely left me feeling at least thoughtful and unsure. So what did you think about it though?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I
Yeah.
just kind of threw me off a little bit because I hadn't expected to see the turn like that, honestly. But
And
I guess it pays off everything we've been working to.
I wish that they had kind of worked that in a little bit more. Some of these things, it kind of felt like the idea of like the chip and the made for love technology was kind of like black and white. Like this is bad, this is good. But if people as partners want to have something like that, doesn't have to be bad and good. I think there's more to explore with that. But it wasn't that type of show, which is I'm fine with. Um, Check it out on HBO, and then also click over to watch the premiere of Mare of Easttown. And Dave, Kate Winslet's back, and she's back because she's playing Mare Sheehan. Great last name.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, dog. They all over this episode. Mare Sheehan everywhere. The Sheehan clan is in this. I was like, oh my brethren, my
Is
people.
this a clan you want to take ownership of?
Maybe not. Well, although I don't know where Mare's going to end up, but she seems to have been a pretty good athlete. Seems like she's a pretty good detective, talented person in some ways. Also seems pretty troubled. But yeah, Mare of Easttown, created by Brad Inglesby, premiered on HBO last night. Dave, thoughts on the premiere? What did you like? What didn't you like?
A lot of familiar beats, right? This is another HBO dramatic miniseries with a Hollywood star, clearly a vehicle to accrue acclaim and future awards. Also, on the more grimmer, gloomier, darker side of things, not unlike a very recent example of this HBO phenomenon. I know this much is true, starring Ralph Gruffalo, but through one episode, we've only seen one. I know critics have seen everything, but I believe the finale. Through one episode, Mayor of Easttown seems a little more palatable. That I know this much is true. Like I know this much is true. Really, like beat you over the fucking head with how much of a tough hang it was. This
Yeah.
not so much, right? Like that's good. We're still in a tough town, right? East Town. I think we're like in the greater suburbs out of the Philadelphia area, low income neighborhood. There's a lot of people experiencing tough times, and that's made very clear through one episode.
Mhm.
But it's Kate Winslet on TV. Kate Winslet's one of the best actresses there is.
Yeah.
So I'm down.
Yeah. This felt a lot like True Detective to me. I mean, obviously the whole crime show detective vibes
Dead girl at the beginning. True Detective. Twin
with like a
Peaks.
weird,
There's beats we know.
person lurking around who looks like a devil sort of thing. Yeah, it's very much in that ilk. And it just was like, man, if they were just like True Detective season 4 with Kate Winslet, I would have been in. Like, sure, like give it to me. So that's kind of how I'm like seeing this. But I think the thing that I was most impressed with in this episode is just like the world building of it. But and you leave this episode understanding exactly who Mare is, like the things she's going through, where she's at in her life, understanding all of the intricate relationships going on around her. I'm forgetting the girl who's killed at the end, but you kind of see the relationship between her and her dad, her and her boyfriend, and then
Right.
the other the other girlfriend, who's a piece of
Yeah.
shit. And you're watching this and you kind of leave just being like, I feel like I know this place, I know these people, and I'm ready to see how everything kind of breaks down, as they try to find this killer on the loose, or this person who murdered this young girl. Um,
Right.
how did you feel about like the world building of it all? This like little Pennsylvania town.
Right. Well, I think that's how the show is able to separate itself from some easy comparisons because unlike Twin Peaks, where Laura Palmer is just a dead girl to
Mhm.
further the story, we actually see, as you said, quite in depth about the difficult life this young woman is experiencing before she dies by the end of the first episode, right? So that's definitely a different tag in terms of coloring things in. Um, I'm wondering how, like, is the hook of Mayor of Easttown just going to be like, let's watch this crime get solved? And we obviously know that Mayor and her extended family, there's going to be hiccups and things going on there. Like, it's kind of like the personalness of this lead detective. From what I understand, Evan Peters will be coming in as an outside, like, county detective or county police officer to pair with her to get involved in the case. Harkens back to other similarities like Broadchurch and also True Detective, right? So I'm like True Detective had like an occult element to it, right? Sharp Objects had like that like gothic style to it. Like, I don't know if we're gonna get anything too much like that. I feel like it's just gonna be watching Kate Winslet do the Philly accent and solve the crime with Evan Peters. Like it might not be too like layered,
Mhm.
but it feels like maybe the layers is the setting, I guess, more so than like the mystery box.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think it's gonna be like supernatural or anything like that, which I'm cool with. Like, from what I understand, I think this is only like a 6 or 7 episode run.
Yeah, I believe it's
So
7.
yeah, so you basically got 2 months, a month and a half, whatever it is, to really be with these characters, and I feel like that's more than enough. And there's a lot here to unpack. Um, there's a lot of like family dynamics. You have Jean Smart. I can't imagine she's just gonna be playing Grandma Helen Sheehan on the sidelines. Like, she's gonna be involved. You have Andrew Reed Rice, who people would know from The Nice Guys as
Mhm.
Ryan Gosling's daughter in that, which she was great playing Siobhan, her daughter. So you know that there's going to be a lot
Mhm.
of different things. And like you mentioned, Everton Peters, man. I mean, like, what a look for him acting beside Kate Winslet moving forward.
Totally,
And
totally, and we know he can get weird with it from, like, American Horror Story or stuff, so
yeah,
I'm curious to see what kinda character he's really playing. Uh, Also Guy Pearce, him and Kate
yeah.
Winslet actually reuniting from the last time Kate Winslet was on TV almost 10 years ago with, was it Mildred Pierce, which was another HBO miniseries, so got actors you like. It's
Yep.
made by HBO, so there's an assumption of quality,
Hmm.
and I think it's a effective first episode, so I think it's really just gonna be about, is it engaging enough without being too grim? Because it's gonna be dark, right? Like
Hmm.
Mare's got shit going on. We're not in a well-to-do town. Like there's a lot of negativity all throughout the story, and you can easily see it staying this way. So, will there be twists and turns to way this mystery goes? Because like you watch that first episode, it's like, huh, well, this girl died. She probably wasn't killed by the fucking other kids that she was fighting with. That's too obvious. So,
Hmm.
what is it, right? Like, you know the beats. So it's all about execution.
Yeah, and I'm along for the ride. We talked about another HBO show last week in the Nevers that we might not get back to, but this definitely sucked me in. So I'm looking forward to next week's episode for sure. Follow along with us. Drop us your thoughts below in a comment. Um, Dave, let's move on to some. Let's move on to a movie before we talk about the movies of the year. Nobody. Better Call Saul. I guess is
Rick
also
Dalton.
a CIA agent. Um, Obviously, I'm referring to Bob Odenkirk, who's the lead in this. Directed by Ilya Naishler,
Yes.
who's a
Director of
Russian.
Hardcore Henry.
Yes, a Russian director. He also did a lot of like music videos. I think he also was a musician for.
Yes, that's correct.
I forgot what the name
He,
of the band was. Pretty good name. Hold on, let me see.
he did the music for Hardcore Henry a lot. Yeah.
Biting Elbows is the name of it. It was a pretty good band name. But it was written by Derek Kolstad, who you would know from the John Wick series. So you kind of, I think, know what you're going to get with this movie going in. Bob Odenkirk, probably a downtrodden guy who has like a secret past, and there's going to be a lot of action around that. That's pretty much, I think, what you get with
Mhm.
this. But the action scenes are really fun, even though it's a little out there at times. Turn your brain off and enjoy the ride is kind of my take with this. How did you feel about it though?
Yeah, so you said it's written by Derek Kolstad, who also wrote all three John Wick movies. This Nobody's also produced by David Leitch. So the John Wick DNA is front and center.
Yep.
And I couldn't help but laugh. I was like, wow, this is like, it's not just like action vehicle for grizzled middle-aged white man. Like it's not quite the Liam Neeson stuff we've been getting the last 10 years. It's really John Wick pastiche. This is
Mhm.
trying to be John Wick, and there's so many similarities to John Wick. Like he
Yeah.
has a fucking secret stash of gold bars. I was like, oh my god, come on, man! Like, can we not be so obvious with the callbacks?
And the
But
kitten instead of the dog,
yeah,
it's like,
I
yeah.
mean, but it also is giving you exactly what it's telling you it's going to be,
Mhm.
and it's a lot of fun. I don't mind seeing Bob Odenkirk doing something a little different. I thought I did a good job. And the action scenes are still well choreographed. I thought the bus fight was the clear highlight just because that's really intense and also
Mhm.
pretty protracted. It does not have a compelling villain in the way other John Wick stories go. I think that's clearly the flaw of the film. It just kind of fizzles out because the villain never makes an impression at all. But, for this kind of stuff, like really intense, hardcore action, beat 'em up stuff, it's not raid level, but it's good. So
Yeah.
if that's what you
It's
want, this is good enough.
Yeah, and it really is, as we're talking it through, and I mentioned Saul, but it's really like if Breaking Bad, turned into John Wick, really, like you mentioned, and that's kind of what you get is like Bob Odenkirk, father of two, married, but seems like he's in a pretty listless marriage at this point. Um, Gets held up, or his house gets robbed. He could have done something to the robbers and kind of lets them go, and kind of just sticks in his craw that he just let them go. And then he goes on this, finds them, runs into these Russian mob people that he murks on this bus, and a pretty awesome fight scene, like you mentioned. Um, and then it just becomes like super outlandish. Like Bob Odenkirk is this ex CI or ex military auditor, and for all these
Mhm.
three-letter or agencies with the government, making sure that all the people who are supposed to be dead are dead, and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
was like, Jesus Christ, this is some interesting writing right here. Maybe there's people like that. I don't know, but yeah, it was fine. I really liked seeing Christopher Lloyd just being like a badass grandfather. I felt like that
Yeah.
was pretty fun.
That was unexpected. Shout out
Yeah,
Christopher Lloyd. Happy to see him.
and RZA just like showing up and murking people at the end, just like a pretty fun gunfight. I don't know, like there were some fun things. I don't really think there's a lot to like dig my teeth into here, just because it like you said, the beats are very familiar. It's just like old white guy, really a badass and kicks ass. The end in my book.
Yeah.
Anything else beyond that for you?
No, I mean, it's cool to see Ilya get another shot directing. Hardcore Henry came out in 2015, and that movie is very outlandish and over the top. Stories completely nonsense, but it's notable for its shooting gimmick in the sense that it's shot in completely first person for the protagonist's point of view, like a video game, and that is fun and cool. Even if the movie, I think you kind of see the movie in the first 15 minutes and you get the idea. But it's cool to see him get another shot at something, and you definitely can tell he has those action sensibilities. So I would not be surprised to see him eventually attached to something even more high profile. Um, Also funny, was it a Pavel Pogleski? Sorry, I can't read my handwriting. Uh, the cinematography in this is the same guy who did Ari Aster's movies, Hereditary and Midsommar. Funny enough.
Hmm. Interesting. I wouldn't have put that together.
Yeah,
Um,
no way.
huh. Well, it looks like he's got some range there for sure. Um, yeah, I think it's worth checking out. It's VOD right now or in theaters. So if you're going to the theater, you have like your
Yeah,
your Regal Plus or your AMC stubs. Check it out. But if not, you can probably wait.
It's made about 30 million worldwide, so it's actually doing pretty well for given everything going on. So yeah, and also it's an action movie. There's only so many action movies, and when you get one that's
Mhm.
pretty good, you probably should support it.
Movies are coming back, but let's talk about the best movies from a year that we can't get back, Dave, and that's the 2020, or I guess 2021 Oscars.
Mhm.
Looking at the movies from 2020 and into 2021, uh, we've talked a lot about the Oscars. As not predicting the nominations, reaction to the nominations. Now we're predicting the winners, and I think as you look through the categories, you feel pretty certain about a few of these. Like you kind of feel like some of these categories are wrapped up, and then there's some that maybe are a little more up for grabs. So why don't we start with some of the lesser profile categories down below? Let's start with best international film in talking about this. So this Sunday, is there a film that you think is definitely going to win best international film, Dave?
Best international film seems clearly going
Yeah.
to another round from
Mads.
Denmark. Of course, a movie we liked came out in
Yeah.
December on VOD, starring Mads Mikkelsen, also known as Druk in Denmark. And the reason we're so certain is because Thomas Vinterberg surprisingly was nominated for Best Director,
Yeah.
the only one in this category to earn such a distinction. Therefore, Transitive Property, another round, is your Best International Feature Film winner. And I think a just one.
Mhm.
Um, Probably the most important thing to take note of here is Minari is not nominated here because Minari is an American film that just so happens to be in a foreign language, Korean. Other award shows nominate based on the language, not the nationality of the film. So Minari has won, I guess, different kinds of categories like this earlier in the year, but of course that's not the case here. And I mean, it's nominated in terms of what it's nominated against. Real quick, was it K Vadas Ida? That's a movie from Bosnia. It's supposed to be really great. That's on
Mhm.
Hulu now. If people want to check that out. And also Better Days, the Hong Kong movie that was nominated. It's probably the most popular movie that was nominated here. And also one of the oldest ones. But yeah, it's going to be another round. You can bet on that.
Yeah, seems pretty certain. The odds are 31-10, which is 3-1 pretty much. So definitely probably going to pull that one out. Best documentary feature. Um, My Octopus's Teacher, lock, would you say?
You know, 6 months ago, we knew a lot of high profile documentaries from 2020. My Octopus Teacher was not on that radar.
No.
And yet, it has won the Producers Guild Award, the ACE, and the BAFTA for this. The only other documentary wins have gone to movies that are not nominated at the Oscars. So, Octopus Teacher beating out what everyone thought was the favorite, Time from
Hmm.
Amazon. So it seems like, it seems like it's a lock. You can watch that on Netflix.
Yeah, I've seen two of the five. I saw Crip Camp and I watched Time recently. I think Crip Camp should be the number two. I don't know My Octopus Teacher, so if I had to like pick a upset here, I would have wanted Crip Camp. But yeah, My Octopus Teacher seems like pretty much a lock. Animated feature. We don't need to spend time on this. It's Soul. Take it to the bank.
That's right. Soul has won Globe, PGA, Ace, BAFTA, and Annie, the animation lead award. So Soul has won everything, and no one else has won anything else. Wolf Walker's won a lot of other Annie awards. We always thought that was the number two, but it's been Soul from the jump. Once again, lock it in.
Yeah, Pixar crushing it. Looking at these technical categories, are there any that stand out to you as you know categories you're particularly interested in or paying attention to here?
Yeah, this always varies year to year, right? This is the first year sound mixing and sound editing is now under one roof. It's just best sound. And I actually enjoy the fact that we know who's winning this year. It's going to be Sound of Metal, a
Mhm.
movie that the sound design is so integral to the storytelling and also the nature of the story.
Hell yeah.
So it's cool to see that because usually best sound goes to what I think what 1917 won last year. Like it's usually just kind of more like the technical stuff to this, but it's not so much really big part of the story
Yeah.
in the
No,
case
I
of Sound of Metal. So that's cool to see.
yeah, I agree. And actually I think that probably the number two in this category is Soul, which is also another movie where the
Mhm.
sound feels so important to the storytelling and the experience.
Right.
But yeah, Sound of Metal's a lock for that one. But we're talking about Soul. I mean, that feels pretty much like a lock for best score as well, right?
That's right. I think it's basically been sweeping as well. Reznor and Atticus Ross. Yep, another easy one.
Will my favorite movie of last year, Tenet, bring home a Oscar for best visual effects? You think?
Seems like it. Seems like the clear choice, right?
Yes.
It better. Respect Tenet, you fools.
Yeah, so good. All right, moving up, production design. Mank is the favorite. I think that should be a lock. Mank
Yeah,
is
another
fucking
one where
amazing.
it's like just intricate production design, recreating what were we, the 20s, 30s,
Yeah,
Hollywood, California. Like, yeah,
insane.
you can't poke a hole in the main production design, so it's a just win, no question.
Yeah, I think about that scene where they're at like the dinner party and how much that really just parallels the scenesis in Kane with like the big fireplace, and it's
Totally.
so well done. Makeup and hairstyling. I mean, I feel like Ma Rainey probably running away with that one.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like it. I mean, Ma Rainey's character, Viola Davis, like that was really distinct makeup and hairstyling on the year. And the only other thing I really think of was in Promising Young Woman. Same way, Carey Mulligan's character. There's a lot of notable makeup and hairstyling.
Yeah,
But yeah, it seems like it's Ma Rainey.
for that and costume design probably as
Yeah, it
well.
seems like it. Yep.
The first like technical category that seems like there might be a real race is best film editing. Sound of Metal and Trial of the Chicago Seven are kind of neck and neck there. Which
Right.
one are you leaning?
Yeah, that one I don't have a good feel on that one. I'm actually kind of surprised to see Sound of Metal of all films being kind of seen as the favorite, if there is one there.
Mhm.
Um, Especially because the Ace win went to Chicago Seven. So I actually probably would lean Chicago Seven here, but tough to get a feel on this one. I think.
So as we're moving up the categories, I feel like this is a pretty important one right here, because usually the Best Picture nominees have at least a technical category that they win or
Yeah,
recognize for.
absolutely.
Cinematography seems like it's probably going to be Nomadland, which would be really important to that being the Best Picture case, which I think a lot of people are leaning towards that being Best Picture. Do you think they're a lock for that one?
I wouldn't say it's a lock, but I would lean that way. Again, like it's competing against something probably like Mank, another
Mm.
film with stark, noticeable cinematography, but Mank's not a top tier Best Picture contender. So yeah, that's a pickup you think Nomadland really needs to follow through on Best Picture. You remember like every year we talking about like the path for a film to win, like with Parasite, same thing. Like you talked about, you kind of need to win something early on to get have any confidence about taking home the last trophy at the end of the night. So yeah, I think Nomadland's not debatably Nomadland's considered the overwhelming favorite at this point, just given how the award season
Mhm.
has panned out. But I still think you want to see this because Nomadland's probably a film that's gonna win one, if any, acting wins, and is unlikely to win for or not certain to win for screenplay as well. So it's like it would kind of be uncharacteristic for the Nomadland win to happen without some of this down ballot stuff. But we're not really certain about any of them, and I think it starts with cinematography.
Yeah, I think about the cinematography from Nomadland and like a movie like News of the World, which has these like really sweeping shots
Yeah,
of
vistas.
landscape. Yeah, and News of the World, I think what where it's so different is that's all about like that, you know, adventurous west, blazing the trail type thing. But Nomadland is very like claustrophobic at times, staying in these very small spaces in their vans, and then it's so sweeping. And I think it really gives you that back and forth experience, which is why I think it probably will win this category. But like you said, I don't think it's necessarily a lock it in pick. We're moving on to the screenplays though, adapted and original. What do you got for each category? Where are you leaning?
Yeah, so this one's really fun. Adapted screenplay. As I said, this
Yeah.
is where Nomadland really wants to get a win here, but it's really hard to predict this one because adapted screenplay has been won by Borat subsequent movie film from the Writers Guild, Nomadland from the Critics' Choice Award, not really representative of the Academy, and then by The Father at the BAFTA, The Father, a British film, so inherent bias.
Hmm.
And don't forget that the Golden Globes only do a best screenplay win. They don't delineate, and that win went to Trial of the Chicago Seven. which is going to be up in original screenplay.
Yep.
So adapt, it's hard to pin down. And I think part of the thing with the Writers Guild is not everyone gets nominated due to like the rules of the Writers Guild. Nomadland and Minari were not nominated for the Writers Guild Award, so we don't actually know what all the screenwriters think because they had limited thoughts, options, right?
Mhm.
So I would lean Nomadland just because it's the strongest film here, but there's definitely upset potential here.
Yeah, man. If Borat came out of this category, just chaos will ensue. I feel like.
And I mean, you think about it too, like the screenplay of Nomadland, it's not like the talkiest film.
No.
This is a movie about feeling and
Yeah.
the vibes, as we
Mhm.
said, right? And even though it's not happy vibes more often than not, it's still a lighter screenplay. Like
Yeah.
the reason things we'll be celebrating here again, the cinematography, the direction, Francis McDormand.
Mhm.
Maybe not so much the screenplay.
So let's jump back to original screenplay. You already mentioned Trial of the Chicago 7, probably the second favorite in this category to Promising Young Woman.
Yeah.
I would love to see Minari get this though.
Yeah. Promising Young Woman, Writers Guild win, Critics win, BAFTA win, Chicago 7 Globe win. Minari has not won anything, wasn't WGA
Mhm.
eligible, but yeah, that'd be an awesome win, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd be so excited.
I'm gonna lean Promising Young Woman here. Just kind of feels like that's a movie that is not gonna get much of anything else, and that's a good nod to it. And also, that's a movie what I think has a really smart screenplay, and
Mhm.
the screenplay of the movie is a big reason why it succeeds alongside Carey Mulligan's performance. So I think that's a good win. But I mean, Minari also, it's funny to think that we're largely picking against Aaron Sorkin, who usually is you're gonna
Darling. This,
lock in for his
yep.
rating, of course. So yeah, I mean, lean Promising Young Woman here, but tough to pin down. And Minari would be quite the upset because again, it actually hasn't won any of the precursor awards.
Yeah, I don't see it winning, but if it does, it might mean that we actually have a race for Best Picture, which would be really interesting. Let's move on to Best Supporting Actor, though, because this one's pretty quick. Uh, Daniel Kaluuya has won at the Globes, SAG, BAFTA, Critics' Choice,
Yes,
pretty much everything. So
everything.
he's going to
All
win.
four.
Let's move on to Supporting Actress, where it's a little bit more all over the map, right? Um, Yu Jung Yoon from Minari is probably the favorite. SAG, BAFTA, but Maria Bakalova,
Mm-hmm.
right there would be a great
Yep.
win. Critics' Choice Award win. Could
Globe
we?
went to Jodie Foster, so throw that one out.
Yeah. So I mean, could we maybe see something here? Don't forget Olivia Colman, who is a Academy darling.
True.
Um, it's probably going to be Yu Jung Yoon, which is
Yeah,
would be pretty awesome.
it would be awesome. Someone who's had decades long career making films now getting belated recognition in the West for a role like this. A great role. She's an integral part to the movie, and it kind of feels like that's the way the winds have been going the past few weeks. So that's what I would pick.
Yeah, I think that's probably the safe pick for that category. All right, moving on to Best Actor. I mean, Chadwick. It's Chadwick and Ma Rainey for this one. He's got the
Mhm.
Globes, Critics' Choice, SAG.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins won BAFTA.
Yes. The BAFTAs have a history with picking Brits and not picking black people. So
Mhm.
that explains that one. But Hopkins is great in The Father, well liked. I wouldn't be totally shocked if he did an upset. It just would still kind of feel like it's coming out of nowhere.
Would you be shocked by Riz?
Yes, I'd be
Yeah.
shocked by Riz Ahmed, no question.
this
Same thing with
this
Stephen Yun.
this category has so many great people in it. I mean, Chadwick, I would love the win. He's probably going to, but if Ahmed or Yoon win this,
Right.
Yun win this,
I mean, you feel like
happy.
it's just posthumous recognition for Chadwick's career, but it's also a tremendous performance. On
Yeah.
the other hand, Ma Rainey notably was not nominated for Best Picture, despite everyone kind of throwing it in there all year long. The Father is nominated for Best Picture, so maybe that matters. I don't think it will. So yeah, I think it's going to be Chadwick, and everyone's going to be very happy and excited to celebrate him and his fortunately last chance for it.
Well, as we move on to probably the category that's most up in the air right now, will Ma Rainey bring home both Best Actor and Best Actress? Because Viola Davis is the number 2 in this category now in terms of odds. Carey Mulligan being number 1 for Promising Young Woman, but Andra Day had that Globes win, got some momentum there. We had Frances McDormand, who I think she's won something,
She
right?
won the BAFTA.
Okay.
Mulligan won the critics. Viola Davis won SAG and was not nominated at BAFTAs. So no one has won more than once. Vanessa Kirby, also happy to be here. So really hard to pin down.
Yep.
I was leaning Carey Mulligan for a while, and then it felt like it actually kind of feels like it's going Viola Davis. I started to see people throw out Andra Day, kind of really surprised me just because it's a good performance, but The People versus Billie Holiday is a pretty middling movie, so I would hate to see it win, honestly. But yeah, I think it's Viola Davis versus Carey Mulligan, and I don't know which way to lean. This is, in past few years, we've been able to lock in all 4 acting races well in advance, especially last year. That is not the case this year. No one can be confident about Best Actress.
Yeah.
Also, Frances McDormand, who's won before. Not that Viola Davis is also a darling, but Frances McDormand has a chance to win 3 Best Actresses, which would put her in esteemed company with Hepburn and Meryl Streep, I believe. And also, if Nomadland just cleans up and has a huge night, it'll be very easy to see McDormand also picking it up here. So you can't write her off.
Absolutely. All right, gun to head, or squirt gun to head. What are you choosing? Who are you choosing for this?
I'm gonna pick
Mulligan.
I'm gonna pick Davis. SAG wins a big precursor there. The acting body is the biggest block of the Oscars, though not as big as it used to be, but still the biggest block. So that's my calculus there.
Would be awesome. She was great in that movie. Really transformed herself. Best director. I mean, Chloe Zhao has won everything.
She's also won all 4. She has not lost. Best director.
So
it's,
this one's
a coronation. Lock it in.
Yeah, and check out The Eternals, which should be coming out end of this year. So
November.
All right, and we're on to the last category, Best Picture. Nomadland, overwhelming favorite here. Won pretty much everything. Minari, could it do the upset? I mean, Trial of the Chicago 7 got the SAG ensemble, I guess, but do we really think that's going to win Best Picture? No.
Right. So I think it's funny to look at the precursors here because Nomadland is the overwhelming favorite, but Nomadland had notable misses here. It was not eligible for the Writers Guild, fine, but it was not nominated at SAG, let alone winning. It wasn't even nominated, which makes sense given the movie. It's truly a 1-actor film, 2-actor film, and then a bunch of non-professional actors. So I kind of understand. But Chicago 7 also won for editing at ACE. So you have Chicago 7 winning SAG and ACE, and you have Nomadland winning Critics, PGA, BAFTA, Globe, and DGA. So yeah, it's not as slam dunk as other years has been, but it still feels like it's pretty certain to be Nomadland. And like we said before, Minari hasn't actually won anything to this point, so it would kind of feel out of nowhere if it was to win. I guess that would be a preferential ballot type result more than anything else.
If you had to pick one win that you want to see, not one that you think is going to happen, but one like an upset or something that you really want to happen, what are you picking here?
Well, that's a good question. I thought that's too much. Man, because it's
I think I would probably like to see something like Amanda Seyfried for Mank would be a huge upset. I would love that.
That's actually it. Yes, that's it. That was a race I thought she was gonna lead, and she never won a blessed thing for the award. Still cracked the nominations. Yeah, that would be awesome. Best Picture, I guess, would probably be the choice here.
The hard part for me also.
I'd go with Judas for Best Picture, but no chance.
Man, that would be a moment. Oh shit, that'd be great. I was gonna say I wish I could root for Riz or Stephen Yeun to take it home, but Chadwick losing at this point would be sad too. So
And like, I'd
Tough
love
year.
to see Lakeith win, but I want Daniel Kaluuya win more, so can't go against that.
We're just gonna have to wait for Stephen Yeun to win for his part in the new Jordan Peele movie. So
Yeah, good
that's
point.
okay. One more year or 2 more years. All right, Dave. That wraps it up for our Oscars predictions. Unless you have anything else you want to add.
No, I think that's it. I mean, ratings, they're going to be real low.
Yep.
All the other award show ratings have been low. Also, most live sports big events and championship games and stuff have also been real low. Um, the Oscars declining viewership is not just COVID, but I think the sharp drop is largely COVID. So we'll see how much award shows recover in the upcoming years. So that's a narrative that you're going to see parroted, but you know the reasons.
Watch them or just follow along on Twitter, however you get your news. Usually.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, also there's plenty of people that probably didn't watch these movies, so
yep.
yeah,
True.
then you're not going to watch it, I guess.
Other than Oscar wrap up, what else we got for next week?
Yeah. So next week, I just closed my notes for some reason. Next week we have the end of the Falcon and the Winter
Yep.
Soldier, Disney Plus,
Yep.
Marvel, and Porter Robinson's first album in years and years, like several years, and also on HBO Max, video game movie savior, Mortal Kombat, baby.
Finish him. Yeah, so we'll be talking about it all. Hit that subscribe if you're watching youtube.com/nostalgiapod, soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod to follow us any other way you want to, and follow our playlist, Nostalgia Best of 2021. Check the show notes. We'll catch you next week.